On Canberra Live with Leon Delaney. Money Matters with Luke Smith from Envision Financial Services.
Luke Smith, good afternoon.
How are we?
I'm just contemplating the weekend weather forecast. Cold, wet and miserable.
It just looks...
I'm going to be staying indoors, I think, for most of it. Today, we're here to talk about super splitting. What is it and why would you do it? Now, let me take a stab in the dark. You're going to split your super into more than one, account?
You're actually going to split it between spouses.
All right, then.
So this is one that is continuing our theme of sort of 30 June sensitive.
Well, that's right. Here we are. What is it? It's the 6th of June today, which is also Queensland Day and D-Day. And that also means we've got 24 days left until the end of the financial year.
Yes, which is very frightening. And people need to keep in mind that the 30th is a Monday. So you're going to need to have things done very, very early this year because a lot of funds will be closing contributions probably the middle of that week, which would see you at 23, 24, 25. So be mindful of that. And this continues that theme of being prepared, and super splitting is legislation that allows you to move your super between spouses. Now, there are a range of reasons that you would do this, but I find it is probably one of the most misunderstood pieces of legislation. You are able to split 85%, which is the maximum you can split, of concessional contributions. Now, what is a concessional contribution? A concessional contribution is made up of one of the following things: superannuation guarantee from your employer, salary sacrifice through your employer to super, a personal deductible contribution where you've put in your own money and claimed a tax deduction, and they are the primary ways where taxed money goes into super, and you can split 85% of that type of contribution. You cannot split a non-concessional contribution. You can only split a taxable contribution. Now, if you put in, let's say, $100,000 because you haven't made any contributions in the last 5 years and you have room in your catch-up concessional space, yes, you could split $85,000 from your super to a spouse's super if it is strategically beneficial for you to do so. Why would you do it? It's a great thing to consider at the moment and is primarily used where you have married well. And if it was called the I Married Well legislation, 99% of people would know about it. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's say I'm 40 and let's say my wife is 50. It would make a lot of sense to be splitting my super to her because she's going to be able to be eligible 10 years sooner than I will. So where there's a large arbitrage between spouses' age, have a real good think about this because I'm yet to meet anybody, and I'm going to back the bus over most lads here, where he gets to 60 and goes, I'm retired, I'm taking a pension, great. And his partner, let's say his wife's 55 and she goes, I would love to work for another 5 years. I'm yet to ever hear that happen. She says, well, I'm done as well. So why would super splitting be great? In that example, if you're splitting 85% of your contributions to an older spouse and that older spouse reaches 60 and meets a condition of release, superannuation is open. You can take lump sums, you can take a tax-free pension, you can do a range of things. So think about super splitting as a way of future-proofing early retirement where you have an older spouse. Some other strategic benefits of using super splitting: if you're super splitting over to an older spouse and they meet a condition of release, it might be a great way to pull out tax-free money and pay off your mortgage. Might be a great way to tax-free payment to HECS for the kids, pay some uni fees. There's a range of reasons that you may want to access your money sooner. One of them might be that you don't want to work 5 days a week anymore because your partner's just retired. Now, if you've been super splitting to the older spouse and saved yourself, in that example, 10 years of having to wait for your super, what a wonderful way to go to 3 days a week so you can spend some more time together and still have access to capital and not have to change the way that you live or fund retirement. So super splitting is a wonderful strategy where there's a difference in age. It's a great way to bring forward access to pay off non-deductible debt. It's a great way to increase the balance of a super account where a pension could be commenced. It's also a great way to get the balance of your super down depending on the value you have in super at 30 June, which we've discussed in previous shows. The balance of your super under the total super balance limits will influence your ability to contribute in the next financial year. So if you're really close to a specific threshold, think about super splitting. Now, I get this one a lot, but if I super split, my spouse can't make a contribution. No. You must super split in the next financial year. Okay, really important. So you go to work tomorrow and say, hey, I'd like to super split, speak to your fund and say, I'd like to super split. What are you super splitting now? You're super splitting contributions to 30 June 2024. Now, if you don't split them before the 30th of June 2025, they're stuck in your account. So in July, people will be super splitting their contributions to 30 June 2025. So you've got to split retrospectively. And that's why we're talking about it now, because if you haven't split from last year, you still can. And you can move deductible contributions over, 85%'s the max, move it over into an older spouse's name. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't preclude your spouse from making a contribution because, as I just said, it's split in the next financial year. So I could put 30 into super. My wife could put 30 into super. She could super split over 85% of her contributions to me, and it has no bearing on my ability to get deductions in my own name. And I've been told by a few of the lads that are lawyers, if you're asking for a friend and there was a family court situation, there's a very good chance that it would get rolled back if you had been super splitting, just for those that come into my office and ask for a friend.
I was going to ask about that very question. I was going to say, look, you've been diligently super splitting to build up the balance of your partner's super fund, but then your circumstances change. Can you get that money back again?
And my understanding, again, I'm not a lawyer, but of the lawyers that I have dealt with and raised this with them, the answer I get is then it's highly likely that it would be split back because it was originally yours, not his or hers, and it would come back.
Well, that's a nice little piece of
but get some
reassurance.
Get some legal
proper
advice.
legal advice on that one. Yes,
Correct.
for sure.
Exactly.
But leaving aside issues of potential relationship bust-ups or other changes of circumstance, assuming that all is rosy on the home front, then you can move the money about in order to get those advantages.
So here's another great strategy. So super split, super split, super split, and then if you both haven't retired, use transition to retirement to pay down non-deductible debt on the home. So we've got 55-year-old spouse, 60-year-old spouse. 55-year-old spouse earns heaps of money, has a massive super contribution, splits it over to the 60-year-old spouse, does that for a couple of years, increases the balance that is in his name in this example, and then start a transition to retirement pension and take 10% out. I've got one that's going to happen this month where there'll be over $150,000 paid off a non-deductible home loan. Neither have retired, but the person at 55 has a massive super contribution and can split that over to the older partner who's 60, meets the transition rules, and can then pull that money out to pay down a non-deductible mortgage. Great outcome. So think outside the box with this, not just I want to retire at 60 or to build up an asset base, but think about benefits at the moment for your particular situation, because non-deductible or tax-free money out of super as a pension will be far more powerful than after-tax money at your marginal rate when it comes to paying down non-deductible debt. So some of these strategies stack together, as someone says on the radio all the time, and they can be really, really powerful if you think about its application.
Now, one of the pieces of advice that we frequently give is make sure you've got your paperwork right. So what do you need to do to actually split your super? Are there forms to fill out?
Yeah, exactly. So you need to go to your fund and say, hey, I'm going to think about doing this. What do you want to use? So there's ATO paperwork and there'll be fund paperwork. So you'll need to go to your fund, and the paperwork they'll ask for your details on the front. They'll ask for your super fund. They'll ask for the super fund that it's going to go to. And then it will say, in what year do you want to split? So at the moment, you'd be splitting 2024, because remember, we're splitting the previous financial year. how much do you want to split? Now, the maximum is 85%. You don't have to do 85%. You can do whatever strategically benefits you. But think about why you're doing it first. You'd then fill that in and say, I want to split 85% of my concessional contributions. You sign the form and you send it to your fund. Then the super fund will split that money to the fund that you've provided on the paperwork, which will hopefully be your spouse's, and it will land in their account and be invested in line with how their superannuation is invested. So it's wonderfully underutilised, and it's a great piece of legislation that, again, is time critical to 30 June, because if you don't do it before the end of this month, whatever's in your account is going to be locked in there for perpetuity. So think about whether it's a good one for you.
Yes, and when you're filling out the paperwork, just double check all the digits and the details so that it does end up in the right account.
And don't leave it too late as well, because, again, depending on the fund that you're in, it can take some time to get processed. And I can assure you most funds will be inundated with contributions, pension payments, and all sorts of other admin issues this month, and they'll be bursting at the seams. So don't leave it too late.
Yeah, it's certainly a busy time of year, and it's only going to get busier over the next 3.5 weeks as we approach the end of the financial year, and then we can draw a line under it and start all over again.
Spot on.
Indeed. 11 minutes to 5 now on 2CC. Luke Smith from Envision Financial is with me today, talking about super splitting, what it is and how you would do it and why you would do it. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Seven minutes to 5 now. Luke Smith from Envision Financial is with me in the studio today. We're talking about super splitting. What is it? How do you do it? And why would you do it? We've covered a fair bit of territory today. So what do people need to remember?
Yeah, so we just need to keep in mind that you can only split deductible or concessional contributions. It means the same. So salary sacrifice, personal deductible, or superannuation guarantee from work. Anything where a deduction has been charged on the contribution, you can split 85% maximum, and you split retrospectively. So you split in July for your contributions to 30 June. So if you were going to split tomorrow, you'd be splitting contributions to 30 June 2024. So if you want to split this year's contributions, you have to wait until July, because the super fund needs to balance its books, lodge all of its notices, and have everything done. Think about the application for your situation. Do I have an older spouse that I can bolster the balance of their super and free up the time that I will otherwise have to wait? And in that example before the ad break, we said if my partner's 60 and I'm 50 and I'm transferring money to their name, they're going to be able to access it sooner. It might be to let you reduce your work hours. It might be to let you retire. It might be to let the older spouse start a pension and pay off the mortgage on the house. No one's ever got upset about having more access to tax-free money over 60 should they wish to take it or use it. So it's a cumulative strategy that you need to do over time. It is not retrospective, okay? This is really important. Some of the super legislation lets you look back 5 years and catch it up. This is not. This is use it or lose it on an annual basis. So if you don't split by 30 June 2025, the contributions for 2024 are staying in your account. You then want to split next year's in July, great. I'd put a reminder in your iPhone, in your Android, however they do it, and have something come up July, super split to my lovely older spouse, and then get the paperwork in and lodge it with your fund. But you must do it every year. You can't go to the fund and say, hey, can I super split the last 5 years? And don't be worried that if you super split, you impact your partner's ability to make deductions up to the concessional limit. It does not affect them. They're individual contributions, they're individually split, and you can both have the best of both worlds and use it to get under total super balance limits. If you're right on the cusp of a certain threshold, think about super splitting and getting your balance down before 30 June, because that could open up more contribution doors from 1 July.
And of course, 30 June is just 24 days away. So if you're planning on doing that this year, you need to move quickly and don't leave it to the last minute, because as you keep telling us, the super fund's going to need a few days just to process it.
Oh, look, they'll need more than a few days with this one. Yeah, make sure you get your paperwork right. Make sure you get it in. Contact the fund. Make sure you can do it. Don't assume. Nothing good ever comes from an assumption. But no, be prepared. Do it for the right reasons, and remember that it's not cumulative. It's it's assessed on an annual basis, and you can't retrospectively do multiple years. So, make sure it's appropriate, use it to your advantage, and think long term with this one, because it's really, really powerful. You might not think about it now at 48, but at 57, if you could save yourself 3 years of working, say less, let's get it splitting. And we have it on good authority from our lawyer friends that if anything bad happens and you're asking for a friend, it would get moved back into your account if it got to that.
Indeed. So where can listeners get more information?
Yeah, so get some good legal advice from somewhere first. Then 6260-4749. We've got envisionfinancial.com.au on the internet. We've got the podcast, The Strategy Stacker. Luke Talks Money on iTunes and Spotify. And we've got Envision Financial Canberra on YouTube, where you can subscribe and have a back catalogue of all of the shows. And it's all in its own chapter in Smart Money Strategy, your ultimate guide to financial planning in all good, bad, and online bookstores.
Absolutely. Luke Smith, thanks very much.
See you next week.
Luke Smith from Envision Financial back with us again at the same time next Friday afternoon between 4:30 and 5 to talk financial matters once again.